which was the real weird murder weapon. So stay tuned, and I'm excited to find out as well.
Okay, Darryl, so you have spent most of your career as a personal injury attorney, but early on, you did do some criminal defense work, right?
Right. Not much, but yes.
Okay, so you've worked with clients who committed assault or even maybe were accused of murder?
Actually, the first attorney I worked with who trained me, he did all criminal law. We started doing personal injury together, went out on my own. I did very little criminal law, but majority, I've always done personal injury. But I did sit through 20 plus trials with him on his criminal portion, so I'm a little familiar with it. We'll see.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know as much as I think.
Well, honestly, it doesn't matter because this challenge is kind of interesting today. You may have heard of some strange things being used as murder weapons in the past, things from everything from a nail gun to a toilet tank lid to radioactive material like polonium-210. Well, we have selected 13 unusual objects that have been used either as murder weapons or someone attempted to murder someone using them. And like those other things I just mentioned, these are not your typical guns and knives. We've got some strange items on this list. So what we're going to do is we've created 13 categories of potential weapons with 3 fakes and 1 real in each category, and you have to try and guess which one was the real weapon. Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, the first category, which is musical instruments. Which of these 4 instruments was used as a murder weapon? We have drumsticks, a banjo, a bassoon, or maracas. Let's talk this through. What are you thinking?
Well, my first thought is the drumstick is the least weight. The banjo wouldn't be an issue, it's very heavy. Maracas could be very heavy at the end, and a bassoon. So, give me a hint.
So if we look at them, if you were even going to kill someone with a drumstick, how would you even do that? Would you stab them, I guess, is the best bet?
I mean, I think if we're looking at that, the banjo makes the most sense.
Right. So,
but you said the word weird, so does that throw us off and make us one we don't suspect?
Well, so here's the thing. The idea is that it's weird to use a musical instrument to murder. So the question is just which one of them, right? So I say, wink, wink, you should trust your instincts.
I guess that means banjo.
Banjo. The real answer is, in 1991, police said that bluegrass musician Edward Benson used a banjo to kill his wife. In fact, he used 2 banjos because the first one broke and he ended up grabbing a second one.
Oh my gosh, that poor lady.
It's brutal. Brutal. All right, so moving on to our next category, baked goods. Yes, this is true. Which one of these unlikely baked products led to a man's death? Was it Dutch apple pie, an onion bagel, a pumpernickel loaf, or sugar cookies? First of which of these things do you like? Are there any things on there that you eat regularly or you like?
Not regularly, and I don't need a pie or cookies, but I'm taking it someone put like poison in. So that's going to be my thought process.
Okay, so that's your theory, is that it was poison.
Poison, arsenic, something. I'm going to say a Dutch apple pie because that would be something everybody would want to eat. So if you're going to poison someone, they better make sure they eat it.
Well, and plus everything is stuffed inside a crust, so you could probably slip something in there.
But you might also, maybe someone choke someone with the food, but I'm going to go with Dutch apple pie.
Okay, so your guess is Dutch apple pie. Well, the answer is, in 1988, a British man by the name of Sir Reginald Hemsley Dottingdale. Wow. That's a very British name. He was found dead on the ground with a lump on the back of his head, and next to his body was the murder weapon, a loaf of pumpernickel bread that was described by Scotland Yard to be as hard as an anvil.
Oh, wouldn't have called that.
He was bludgeoned to death with a loaf of bread.
Wow.
Yeah, who would have ever thought?
No.
All right, so moving on from edibles to wearables. Our next category is clothing. Which of these items of clothing was used in a murder? Was it a pair of sweatpants, a poncho, a tank top, or a knitted ski cap? Now, first of all, how many of these items do you actually own? Do you own a poncho?
No.
Have you ever worn one?
No.
They're very comfortable. I highly recommend. But I assume you own all the rest of these, right?
You know, again, I'm just thinking what comes to mind is, did you take a piece of clothing and choke someone to death? I don't know. And if that's the case, it might be the poncho, it might be the sweatpants. But I'm going to go with poncho.
All right, the answer is, in 2010, a Jacksonville woman named Patricia Ann McCollum was killed by being strangled to death with a pair of sweatpants. So you were right. It was one of the last 2.
The poncho swayed me.
No, you're on the right path, though. You definitely have a future as like a TV detective.
That'll make it my day job.
All right, so we'll move on to the next category. We're going into silverware, but we're still not talking about knives. Which of these items that you might find in a kitchen drawer ended someone's life? Was it a melon baller, a soup ladle, a spork, or a dessert spoon? Do you have you used all of these before?
Everything but a spork. I'm just thinking, wow, a soup ladle might be the heaviest. So let's go with my thought bludgeoning. Let's go soup ladle.
Soup ladle. title? Okay, so the answer is, in 2004, British man Timothy McGee was charged with rupturing an artery in a man's skull that caused fatal bleeding between his skull and brain when he hit him with a dessert spoon.
Oh my gosh, I was totally off.
Yep. But here's the most surprising part of the story. The man did die, and Timothy did hit him with the spoon, but he was actually found not guilty of murder after claiming that it was self-defense during a fight about a cell phone.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so move on to the next category. Moving from silverware to footwear. We know from watching martial arts movies that plenty of people have been killed by fast-moving feet, but which of these foot accessories is responsible for one death? Is it a sock, a pair of flip-flops, a croc, or an ankle bracelet?
Well, I'm striking out bad. I don't think I've got one right.
Well, let me ask you a question. This is something you can get right for me, whether we get, settle a bet for me. Do you call them flip-flops? Do you call them sandals? Like, what's the word you use to describe those?
I call them flip-flops.
Okay, so what do you think? Sock, flip-flops, croc, or an ankle bracelet?
Well, I'm gonna go flip-flops, and you wanna know why?
Why's that?
Because I'm wearing them.
All right, so the answer is, when the body of Joanna Yates was found in December of 2010, she had been strangled, and the only thing missing from the scene of the crime was one of her socks, leading police to suspect that was the object used to strangle her.
See, I went against the grain. I had to do it because I was wearing it, but if you think about it, the only thing you can strangle someone is a sock.
Yeah, well, to be fair, we didn't know it was a strangulation.
Yeah, but
she could have been suffocated by a flip-flop. Okay, so we can move on to the next category. We're going to venture back into the world of food-related weapons. The category this time is condiments. They can make a burger or a sandwich delicious, and they can also make a heated encounter deadly. Which of these was it? Was it a tube of anchovy paste, a bottle of hot sauce, a honey bear, or a jar of pickles?
So, I'm gonna go with honey, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, this is interesting.
I didn't know, but one time I took a teaspoon of honey and I struggled to breathe for about 5 seconds. And then I was talking to someone and they said, that's the problem with honey, it takes all the oxygen out. So I guess if someone got hit over the head with the pickle jar or the hot sauce, but I'm just wondering if someone died from eating too much honey too fast.
So here's the answer. In 2010, a 16-year-old boy smashed a pickle jar on the head of a 52-year-old man, knocking him unconscious, after which he stabbed him 55 times. So technically, it was a pickle jar, but also a knife. However, it turns out that the young man was traumatized from what was later revealed to be that this man was abusing him. So he only ever got probation. He didn't serve time. So after that information was revealed. So hopefully a happy ending there. Okay, so next category, back to the world of clothing, but this is clothing protects you from the weather. We're talking rain gear. So which of these pieces of rain gear can protect you from the elements, but possibly also end a life? Was it an umbrella, galoshes or rain boots, a raincoat, or a rain cap?
Okay, umbrella's got to make the most logical sense, because you could beat them over the head with it or something. I'm not sure how you would do with the other three.
Okay, so your guess is the umbrella?
The umbrella.
Okay, let me ask you a question before we get to that. Have you ever heard of those referred to as galoshes, or do you only know them as rain boots?
I've heard of galoshes. I always call them as rain boots.
Okay, I thought that was maybe just an old-timey word.
No, I've heard of galoshes.
Okay.
I don't know where it came from, but rain boots.
So the real answer is, this is a cool one. It involves some real-life spy stuff. Georgy Ivanov Markov was a Bulgarian playwright who defected from his home country in 1969 to the West, and almost a decade later in 1978, he was walking down a street in London when a stranger bumped into him at the same time, stabbing him with the end of his umbrella. Markov got extremely sick and died of blood poisoning due to the umbrella stabbing, which many people believe was a spy from his former country taking him out.
Yep, I've seen stuff like that, so I'm not surprised.
So watch out. If somebody's walking towards you with an umbrella, run the other way. Yeah. All right, next category. This is interesting. I'm calling this people parts, sort of. This is a list of things that seem like parts of the human body, but they really aren't. Is the thing that's responsible for murder, is it a bag of glass eyeballs, a prosthetic leg, a crash test dummy, or a mannequin head?
Well, I'm going to say someone took the prosthetic leg off and beat someone over the head with it.
You think it's the most likely one because it's nearby, right?
Yes,
like
it makes the most sense.
That seems like a weapon of opportunity for sure. Okay, the answer is, in 2012, a homeless woman was found guilty of killing her boyfriend from 2 years earlier with her own prosthetic leg. Nailed it.
Yep.
All right, good job. So next one, we're heading back into the kitchen, but this time the murder weapon is one of the tools used to prepare a meal. This is let's get cooking. Which of these common cooking elements is on the hook for taking a life? Is it a whisk, a pair of tongs, a spatula, or a can opener?
Oh boy, again, I'm going with can opener, where you maybe held it with the handle and pop someone in the head.
Okay, so you're talking about the old style can, not the automatic one. Okay.
Yes.
So your guess is can opener. All right. Well, the answer is a woman in Utah used a spatula to kill someone.
Oh wow.
It was a family member, and it sounds like from the case that she snapped and it was not premeditated. But yeah, it was a spatula, not a can opener. All right. So next up, our category is a bunch of stuff you probably don't use a lot. I'm calling this stuff kid stuff. So see if you can figure out which of these items that are mostly designed for kids and teens can also be used as a lethal weapon. Is it a toy drone, a Razor scooter, an iPod Touch, or an Xbox 360?
I'm gonna go with the scooter.
Scooter? Razor scooter? Okay, the real answer is in 2013, a woman was found dead near a broken and bloody Xbox 360, having been killed by her boyfriend.
Oh,
wow. He was clearly mentally ill. He was saying stuff like that he had to sacrifice her because she was controlling his spirit. So it doesn't sound like what you would expect, which is that just a boyfriend and girlfriend were in a fight because he won't stop playing video games. But that would have been my guess. Okay, so this next category takes us back to cooking, but we're doing it outside. This is at the barbecue. But don't worry, it doesn't end with a charred body. Here, we're trying to decide which of these 4 tools for making barbecue was used in a homicide. Was it the barbecue fork, the propane tank, the meat thermometer, or the grill brush?
Okay, I can see all 4 of these. I could see a propane tank getting swung and hit on the head. I could see someone taking the meat thermometer, like that, was it Single White Female, where the lady took the end of his shoe, and I could see the barbecue fork. I could see the grill brush. So I'm gonna go between the meat thermometer and the propane tank. I'm gonna go with the meat thermometer.
Okay, well, the answer is, and I think this is our first one that is an attempted murder, not an actual murder. In 2010, a man in a movie theater asked a woman to stop using her phone during the film. The woman's male companion left the theater for a few minutes, then returned and stabbed the man in the neck with a meat thermometer.
Oh, I got it right.
Yep. The man with the meat thermometer was ordered to pay $21,000 in restitution and was sentenced to 40 years in prison for the attempted murder with a meat thermometer.
Oh, he didn't die. Okay, good.
Right. All right. So this next one, this is very unusual. First of all, it's just 2 choices rather than 4. And secondly, this particular murder involves being smothered by sensitive parts of the human body. So which of these 2 body parts is responsible for the smothering death of another human? Was it a person's butt or a pair of boobs?
Either one gives a interesting visual, so I'm just gonna pick a random guess, boobs.
So the answer is in 2013, Donna Lang's boyfriend was smothered and killed in their mobile home after an argument by Donna's breasts. Neighbors heard them arguing and she was later found with her breasts covering his face. She claimed that she passed out on top of him, but I think that might not be true. All right.
Sad story.
All right, and this brings us to our final category, which I'm calling the dangers of technology. One of these elements of everyday tech that we use had a hand in endangering the life of a somewhat famous person, actually. Was it an animated GIF, an electric seat warmer, a chatbot, or an ultra-high frequency sound burst? Now, before we decide, let's just make sure we understand all the choices. You know what a GIF is. It's one of those videos, those looping videos that people share on the internet. You've used a seat warmer before. You know what that is. And a high frequency sound burst, that's just a sound that's so high pitched you might not even be able to hear it. And you know what a chatbot is. We have them on the website.
I'm gonna go with electric seat warmer.
Electric seat warmer. All right, well, let's see. This is the last one. The answer is in 2016, an online troll who didn't like the political content from journalist Kurt Eichenwald decided to injure him. He was aware that Eichenwald had epilepsy, so he sent him a message with a bright flashing GIF that was intended to send him into a seizure, and it did.
Oh, wow.
And a grand jury in Texas found that a GIF could indeed be used as a deadly weapon.
Wow.
Even though Kurt Eichenwald was not killed, but yeah, that man was found guilty of attempted.
Crazy.
Yep, so there we have our 13 murder and weird assault weapons. Thank you, Darryl, for joining us on this journey, for your legal expertise and putting up with these weird challenges that I put you through. And everybody, please like and subscribe for more fun and informative legal content. We'll see you in the next episode.